Greetings, Dragon Ball fans, and welcome to part 15 of What If Vegeta Killed Gohan, where we follow Son Gohan's rocky path after being killed off oh so callously by the late Prince of the Saiyans, way back in early Dragon Ball Z. With Zamasu and Goku Black neatly boxed up, the aging Gohan then has to brace himself for meeting his mother again, only to discover that the past Gohan has found happiness with this version of Videl, who in their time was his student and is now the leader of the Planetary Defense Force, the Dragons. Now at the Son family home, they are learning what actually happened with Cell, which has a bit more detail than their Videl's version, courtesy of her father, Hercule. The androids had awoken and ventured out, only to be accosted by the Bugman. Quickly consuming Lapis, Cell had been blessed with his next meal coming straight to him. Jet, Jiro's somewhat naive clone of Vegeta, was also designed to be part of the perfect whole that Cell yearned for. The fact that he actually wanted to fight the Bugman was equal parts ironic and unfortunate. The slightly more than perfect Cell, via her budding boyfriend Krillin's energy, and after a good showing by the lovable half-pint, Lazuli was consumed as well. In his now more than perfect form, he again enacts his Cell games, and the fighters gather to face him. Having spent some time in the time chamber himself, and seeking revenge for, stealing his girlfriend, Krillin has stepped up and made an even better showing than previously, before unfortunately losing to a ring-out. We left off on a clearly TFS-inspired take on Piccolo's Makan Kosopo echoing across the arena. As the sound of Piccolo's voice overlaps, both from far away and from right in front of Cell, the thin beam punches through and carves its way up into Cell's chest before heading off into a distant mountain. Cell staggers back, clutching at the gouge running up from his stomach to his neck. Collapsing to one knee, he looks up at Piccolo with a smile on his face.
"Nice one, Dad. How did you get so close?" Never mind."
Cell staggers a bit as he stands up, and the missing chunks of flesh reform, settling back into its more than perfect form.
"Gotta thank you for that, huh?"
Cell says, looking a bit smug.
"Now it's my turn."
He lunges forward, seeming to catch Piccolo off guard, and Big Green can barely keep up with Cell's onslaught, as he gets pushed closer and closer to the edge. When Piccolo's heels reach that edge, Cell surges forward again and slams into him, sending him flying backward into and through the rocks as he fades out. Slightly confused, Cell looks around. Then above him, he sees a sea of energy balls lazily drifting down around the arena. Piccolo squeezes his hands together, triggering the Hellzone grenade, and the energy balls come crashing in.
10 for effort,"
Cell says, suddenly behind him.
2 for originality."
Cell again slams into Piccolo, sending him down into the arena, through the edge, and into the dirt. He looks around, behind and above quickly, and then slowly settles down to stand a bit slumped on the arena, catching his breath.
"Oh,"
Cell says, a bit warily.
"Main event time."
Just a sec," Goku replies and flicks something at Cell, to a collective gasp from the Z fighters.
"Is this what you gave that lost puppy dog?"
Cell says, looking at the bean in his hand. He pops it into his mouth, chews it up, and a burst of energy whips across what's left of the arena, washing away the debris.
"Well, Goku, I dare say you've made a tiny mistake,"
Cell says, flexing slightly.
"I was a bit tired, but now, well, you know about my Saiyan bits, right?
Uh-huh.
That whole stronger with each fight? 'Cause that's your thing, isn't it?"
For the purposes of this story, there is little difference to the traditional fight here. Fortunately, Cell does not actually get that big of a power boost, as he was not remotely near death. Also, there is no quad Makan Kosopo, because I've already made that joke. With the benefit of the Senzu restoring his energy, however, Cell is still coming out just over Goku, and it culminates in a ring-out, similar to Krillin and Piccolo. Goku's impact, though, takes out most of the area, instead of the small section or corner that the previous two took with them on their exit. Cell says they can dispense with the arena rules, but Goku stands up, brushes himself off, and says, "Yep, you win." However, Gohan's approach to all this is quite different this time round. Not only is he in that Mastered Super Saiyan form, but he has something he's been wanting to try out. Now that he can slip in and out of Super Saiyan with no effort, there is no rage involved. Even the form itself, with its boiling, writhing power, is much more calm and measured in this now mastered state. After trading a few blows, Gohan stands there, internally aligning things, as Cell prattles on about how disappointed he is in their efforts. The Bugman is midway through describing some random acts of violence he plans on performing on the next planet he finds, when Gohan finishes his internal rearrangements and shifts his stance slightly. Cell stops mid-sentence as a ripple of impossibly deep red pulses through the boy's yellow aura, and he reappears up close, an elbow deep in where there would normally be a stomach. The regurgitation of 18, or Lazuli as she's known here, is suitably disgusting, and the few remaining spectators gag at the sight. The young Videl, however, does not. She doesn't gag, she doesn't look away. She's just staring, transfixed by the young, blonde-haired and tailed boy, desperately trying to watch his every move. Gohan considers the woman at his feet for a moment as Cell starts to revert to his slightly more than semi-perfect form. Another, slightly lighter pulse of red, and this time a foot to the side of Cell's chest, elicits another body. This time Gohan catches Jet as he comes out, still dripping with mucus, and he sets the man down, next to his surrogate sort of sister. Cell barely has time to stagger and continue his regression before the third hit comes in from behind.
No!
He screeches as his body continues to convulse and shift and contract in on itself. He tries to grab at the body of 17, but Gohan is there instead, watching him shift and contract back to his original form that none save the unconscious 17, the damaged 16, and Bulma have laid eyes on and lived to speak of. After some more complaining from the now very bug-like man, he decides that they will all pay the price for denying him his perfection. As he approaches full inflation, he laughs and says that they could have had a good fight if he hadn't gone and ruined it.
Now you're all gonna die.
The downside of being so small, though, was that he couldn't actually see the still fairly small Gohan anymore, as he, in turn, looked around, mentally searching for options. Cell also didn't see the boy look up into the sky, then take a deep breath and step forward to touch the imminent explosion. As Cell is about to release his energy, carefully away from his nucleus, the plushiest of plush toys bounces off his back, and the world around him vanishes, replaced by an all-consuming white haze. He's also suddenly feeling uncomfortably warm. No, that's not warm, that's hot. A searing, boiling heat. Cell rotates a bit to see the massive, roiling surface of the sun. It's so close he could almost reach out and touch it. He turns back to see the fading red and yellow glow of that boy, now rapidly moving away from him, with his own ball of white-hot energy that is almost as bright as that sun, forming in the boy's young hands. As Hercule Satan clutches at his hand and whimpers, the Z-Fighters turn away to see that Gohan has reappeared behind them, gasping for breath. His face and hands are blistered and red, way more than Krillin's had been when he caught the Kamehameha. At the same time, his back is covered in rapidly melting frost. As the story comes to an end, the elderly Bulma leans back in her chair, and both her and the graying old man Gohan stare at the younger one, nodding approvingly. Into the sun, huh? He should have tried that with that Zamasu guy, trapped in the core of a star for all eternity. A suitable place for a psychotic immortal deity. Videl then continues from where her husband had left off. After, her last visit, Beerus's showing up was almost amusing. He'd wanted to meet a Super Saiyan god, but was a bit shocked to meet not only one, but 3 of them. Both Jet and Gohan had all practiced with him, and just prior to Boo's arrival they had worked it out. Piccolo and Tien, of all people, had also started testing those waters, the latter of which was surprisingly adept at it. Of course, the notebook from future Gohan had proven very helpful for all concerned. At least the scattered notes on ki control, instead of the much more prevalent modifications to the Kaioken. Man, you should have seen the look on Frieza's face when he came back to take revenge on the Earthlings, and Tien's Kaioshin Kikoho vaporized the ship, first form Frieza and all. When Chi-Chi finally pipes up to ask if they're actually from further in the future, any sense of relief at solving that slight worry evaporates. They tried for a more traditional connection point, but the ship simply wouldn't transition. Was the planet missing? No, that shouldn't matter. There was simply nothing for the ship to transit to. They tried several times, but the ship just beeped at them and complained about invalid coordinates, until they finally set the time for, well, this time. At some point in the next year or so, everything is just gone. They scratch their head for a time until Goku has an idea. He reaches into his gi and pulls out a small button. His idea, it seems, is to ask the guy who runs it all, and before anyone can inquire, let alone object, he presses one of the buttons and vanishes. 30 minutes later, he reappears and says that they have no idea either. There is nothing that could wipe out a universe except Zeno, and he said he had no reason to, at least not at this exact moment. The next day, while visiting Capsule Corp, Shin appears, desperate for Goku and Co. to go with him. On, to Gohan at least, an oddly undamaged world of the Kais, they again meet Beerus, who is eyeing the old man Gohan with just a touch of menace. Before they can even say hi, another, smaller-looking angel appears. The Grand Priest then lays out the plans for the Universe Survival Tournament, or as Zeno calls it, the Tournament of Power. The usual rules apply: 10 members from each universe in a battle royale. The universe with the most surviving members will get a wish from the Super Dragon Balls. When he reveals that the universes that lose will be erased, there is almost the opposite of a flicker in a deeper red than should strictly be possible. The Grand Priest glances at the older Gohan and raises an eyebrow. Then he glances at the younger, then to Whis and Shin. Before the older of the two Gohans can utter an objection, the angel says to prepare for an exhibition match and promptly vanishes. Finally able to speak, he rounds on his dad. "What did you do?" he shouts as Goku in turn looks down sadly. It wasn't supposed to. Goku trails off as Beerus also steps towards him, standing firmly next to the still rippling air around the grey-haired old man. Goku recaps the conversation he had with Zeno about a missing universe, and then that innocent question about the multiverse tournament, and Beerus just shakes his head. He then of course lays the team-building work at Goku's feet. The older of the two Gohans is almost shaking with rage, though. Not exactly at the man who used to be his father, but you know, the Kais, the gods, and all that divinity stuff. They just don't seem to care at all, do they? As he reins himself in, mostly due to Bulma standing in front of him, they start to talk roster. Goku, obviously. Jet nods. The still speechless younger Gohan grunts and raises his hand a bit. Piccolo says he's in, and maybe Krillin and Lazuli. They'd surely want to protect their son, wouldn't they? Hold up, Lazuli, the robot, has a child? With Krillin? If the older of the two Gohans wasn't, as they say, absolutely livid, he'd almost laugh at the irony. Bulma, though, does manage to laugh. If this time's version of her managed to find happiness with the likes of Jet, no offense, man, because, he's standing right there, then why not? It's obvious that Jiro's plans were somehow affected by their initial trip, since Jet himself wasn't made into a grisly-looking, dead-eyed cyborg, after all. Yeah, so anyway, would her brother want to join in? To which Jet actually volunteers to go and ask. When they start debating their other picks, Chi, the younger, violet-haired and look-alike of her own grandmother Chi-Chi, says that she wants to help them. The thought of her grandparents being erased is a bit too much to bear. After worried and disapproving looks from her parents, her dad turns to Shin and asks if there is any wish that the Super Dragon Balls cannot grant. Are there any limitations? When he hears the answer, a slight smile crosses his lips. If they're going to screw with the universes like they're a child's toy, well, two can play at that game. Much to the older Bulma's interest and worry, he's in as well. So, who's the last one? They have Goku, Jet, younger Gohan, old man Gohan, Chi, Piccolo, Krillin, Lazuli, and possibly her brother Lapis. But that's only 9. Piccolo then suggests Tien. The guy actually spends most of his time on the lookout with him and Dende anyway, and Piccolo is happy to admit that Tien actually has a slightly better grasp of God Ki than he does, if not the same level of raw power. The exhibition match is then Goku, young Gohan, and Chi. She is, after all, one of the most capable dragons back in their time, and consistently outsmarts the likes of her older brothers Goku and Jinbei, neither of whom are slouches when it comes to a fight. The first match is the future Chi versus Basil, which ends rather abruptly with a ring-out. Basil was far too distracted by all the deadly-looking boomerang-shaped energy blade things that were swirling around them both to land more than a few glancing blows as she flung him out of the arena. The second match between present Gohan and Lavender isn't even remotely the same. This Gohan has a bunch more training, the God form, as well as instant transmission. He effortlessly dodges the poison attacks, and a single Super Saiyan God punch sends the man flying into and bouncing off of a pillar. Goku vs. Bergamo is much more entertaining and plays out fairly normal though, with Goku easing into Kaioken just to see how much energy the guy can absorb. This is of course all preceded by, hey, let's blame Goku for the whole thing, but Goku has already been thoroughly told off about his recklessness, not only by his current family, but also the much older and wiser future family. When Bergamo lays into him about the Universal Destruction Clause, Goku says that it was just supposed to be a friendly punch-up between universes. He didn't intend for them to face obliteration. A slight murmur of consent moves through the assembled gods of destruction and their Kai counterparts. But of course Bergamo still proposes that if he beats Goku here, everything will be called off. Zeno and the Grand Priest agree, but if Goku holds back, both universes will get erased, on the spot. The downside here being that Goku, heeding those words, actually starts to go all out. He doesn't actually reach any of his upper limits, but still, his current level of Super Saiyan Blue, with a bit of modified Kaioken on top, has the unfortunate result of making Bergamo explode. As the Universe 9 group all gasp in shock, and Goku slumps down, saddened by the guy's lack of ability, as much as his own inability to control his power, we will bring Part 15 to a close. How will the universes, let alone the Grand Priest and Zeno, react to Goku's accidental killing of Bergamo? He was just doing what the literal god of everything had demanded, right? What difference do you think the old man Gohan and his younger daughter, Chi, will make in the Tournament of Power? Which of the two big red auras will prevail? What do you think old man Gohan's plans are for the wish upon the Super Dragon Balls? Find out next time on Dragon Ball. What if Vegeta killed Gohan?